4 more years of fun.
Hedgecock.
I want it.
Iowa's first female U.S. Senator, Joni Ernst, does 2 days a week with the Iowa National Guard as Lieutenant Colonel Joni Ernst. She has been juggling civilian and military lives since joining the Guard in '93. She's a veteran of Operation Iraqi Freedom. And even during the campaign, 2 days a week, in uniform. And the first thing she did after the election, she's elected on Tuesday. On Thursday, she's back in uniform with the Iowa National Guard. A salute to Joni Ernst on this Veterans Day. Unfortunately, there's too many articles like this one. CBS News in Denver, headline, Veteran Fears for His Safety After Getting Attacked. Dateline, Aurora, Colorado. A veteran who lives in Aurora and uses a wheelchair says he's worried after he was attacked in his home by a robber. And then this one, again from CBS in Sacramento, California. Headline, North Highlands veteran 91 dies from injuries suffered in brutal home invasion robbery. The elderly, of course, targeted in these home invasions by the thugs that have no problem and don't worry about the service these folks have made to their country. In every community, this is a problem that maybe if you have a relative or a friend who's 85, 90, 95 years old, living alone, go over and check on them. Find out how good their locks are and their windows are. And maybe I'll talk about this later about voice alert, because there's a system we're talking about that will help, to give some comfort of some security to these vets and others. But in the meantime, I want you to meet, again, Bill Hutton. William R. Hutton is the past national commander of the member of the Military Order of the Purple Heart since 1997. Chapter commander here in California. Former Marine, 1965 to 69. 3rd Battalion, 4th Marines, 3rd Marine Division, tour of duty in Vietnam. Wounded 3 times, got the Silver Star, awarded the Silver Star and the Vietnamese Cross of Gallantry for his heroism. And thereafter, a 35-year veteran of the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, where he was also awarded the Medal for Bravery and the Distinguished Service Award for saving the life of a fellow deputy. And now active with the Purple Heart folks, and we want to talk about that right now. Bill Hutton, welcome to the program.
Well, thank you, sir. Welcome. I'm glad to be back. It's been a while since we've talked.
It has been a while, and yet, and I was just looking at this stat this morning, even here just in San Diego County, there are 250,000 veterans. And, of course, we've got, 1 million or more coming back from these Iraq and Afghanistan wars that are trying to get what's coming to them in terms of benefits, get reintegrated back into civilian life and move on with their own lives. And that's the whole purpose of the Purple Heart Foundation. Talk about the numbers. Talk about the programs.
Well, we have a number of programs, Roger, and we've discussed this before. And now we have a distinction between the Military Order of the Purple Heart and the Military Order of the Purple Heart Service Foundation. Although they're separate entities, they are joined at the hips because the Service Foundation actually is the one that raises the funds and supplies the budget money for the MOPH to do the work for the veterans coming back and the veterans from all past wars. We currently have, and I call this the centerpiece of our organization, is our National Service Program. And we have approximately 70 National Service officers nationwide, as well as in the territories of Guam and Puerto Rico, that service our military veterans and their families. And I can give an example of what they did just in the past fiscal year. Was they settled almost 14,500 claims for a total of $339 million. So those are funds that go to the families and to the veterans and eventually go back into the community where they live.
Wow. Purple Heart Service Foundation. So you're helping all veterans. And a lot of groups focus on veterans who have mental or physical problems, but you're really focused on all veterans having access to the benefits they've earned.
That's absolutely correct. We all five services, we don't distinguish from one from another. We don't distinguish between combat and non-combat veterans. We service all veterans and their families. That's what we do.
Let's talk about needs. I know you've granted funds to this program called NEADS. What's that?
That's a program that we for dogs for veterans that have special needs. They're like service dogs and things of that nature.
Well, that's so great. I mean, the difference a dog can make in somebody's life, much less a veteran, is really important. You've
absolutely. It actually brings them into, the transition is one of the biggest problems that we have nowadays with our veterans. And when we start bringing on other programs such as the needs and dogs that go to the veterans and their families, it just makes a world of difference.
I understand the Purple Heart Foundation, too, Bill, has donated over $500,000 to help build the National Intrepid Center of Excellence. What is that, the Intrepid Center of Excellence? What's that?
The Intrepid Center of Excellence these are locations throughout the country that are going up, and we just provided $500,000, you said, to the one, and it actually is to assist with those with PTSD and TBI specifically. And of course, as you well know, traumatic brain injury is the signature of this war in Afghanistan and Iraq, and it's a tremendous program that we have been working with, and it has done so much. And this one is specifically in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, but we focus on all of them throughout the country.
Bill Hutton with us, and this Purple Heart Service Foundation is really important. And I wanted to call you today because it's Veterans Day, and I know for veterans it's a day when they recall their service, they recall, their life since then, what has gone on, the kind of things, the kind of country they're back in. We had a lot of discussion on the air about all of that. But it is interesting that it grew out of Armistice Day, the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, in which the World War I officially ended, and this nation's first involvement in a global enterprise like that. It's interesting to look back on how that's evolved into wanting to honor all of our veterans in the many wars since.
It's incredible, and you're correct that that's basically on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month. The war actually stopped, and of course we didn't sign the Treaty of Versailles until something like 7 months later. But the fighting itself did stop, and Armistice Day was to honor those who died during World War I. And I believe it was 1954 that we decided, let's not just honor those folks, let's honor all our veterans. And now we have the separate and distinct days of Memorial Day and Veterans Day. And I always tell people, Happy Veterans Day, but on Memorial Day, I wish them a reflective Memorial Day, because that's the day that we honor those that gave the ultimate sacrifice.
Absolutely. Now, Bill, how does this Military Order of the Purple Heart fund all these programs we've been talking about? Obviously, it's coming from donations. You're not a government entity here. What are you relying on?
Well, we're relying on the public to come forward and to donate to the cause of servicing our veterans and our families. I would like to, before I go into that, if I can just quickly bring up one more program that we started under National Commander Ron Siebels last year and has continued under the current National Commander, Pat Little, is the Women's Veterans Program. And it's actually, the director of that is Wendy Buckingham, who is an Air Force veteran, was severely wounded in Iraq, is currently an attorney, but is serving as our director for this program. And I want all women that are listening that are veterans, or anyone who has a family member that is a woman veteran, to understand that we care about their needs as much as we do anyone else's. And I would recommend that they contact, through the internet, Women's Veterans, which is one word, at Purple Heart, which is one word, .org. That's Women's Veterans at purpleheart.org, because we want to make you feel comfortable, transition you as we do anyone else, and thank you so much for your service to our country. Okay, now I'll get back to your question, Roger, if I can. We fund the Military Order of the Purple Heart Service Foundation in a couple different ways, through vehicle donations, clothing donations, and if your folks would go to purpleheartfoundation.org, that's purpleheartfoundation.org, that is one way. Another way, and something I would really like to see come to light, is the texting, which has become the new way of supplementing the funding for some of our organizations, specifically ours. And to do that, if you simply text PURPLE, that's PURPLE, to the number 2022 from your cell phone. And again, I'll repeat, that's PURPLE to 20222 on your cell phone, and make a $10 donation, and it will make an absolute world of difference to many of our veterans and their families.
Let's stop down and ask this listening audience to do that right now. It's an easy thing to do. You have your cell phone. Check this out. Just go text PURPLE. That's the word purple, PURPLE. And again, the number is 20222, 20222. And you can make that $10 donation. Or you can go, of course, to purpleheartfoundation.org, Purple Heart Foundation, all one word, .org, and find out a lot more about how you can participate in helping our veterans. This is an organization that has done a lot of great work for a lot of veterans, and the reason why we talk about it here on this show, and particularly on Veterans Day, but think about it every single day of the year. So, Bill Hutton, how are you celebrating Veterans Day today, other than being on the program, of course, yourself being a veteran, a decorated veteran of the Vietnam War?
Well, I started out like most do. Got up, had my coffee and breakfast, and then went out to the Veterans Day ceremony, which we had out here. And I live in Thousand Oaks, about a mile from the Reagan Library. And we co-host, the Military Order of the Purple Heart, my chapter, co-host a Veterans Day program with the Military Order of the World Wars of the Conejo Valley. And, of course, we did that, and it was just a wonderful event with a flyover and guest speakers, et cetera. And by the way, when we talked about the texting for the dollars, I want to thank you, because I understand that you've now put that on speed dial, and you plan on calling it 2 or 3 times a day, Roger?
Speed dial. We're going to get everybody on speed dial. Exactly right.
But I'd like to take this opportunity to thank each and every one of our members of the military service, past and present, for what they've done for our country and for each and every one of us. And a belated happy 239th birthday for those who served the United States Marine Corps.
Yep. Hoorah. All right. Bill Hutton, thanks so much for being there. Thanks so much for the work you do. And again, thanks for your service to our country.
Well, thank you, sir. And again, I appreciate so much having me back on.
You bet. Bill Hutton. Purple Heart Service Foundation, folks. You know what to do. This is a worthy organization. There's a lot of them, but this is the one that I'm supporting. And you need to help out here, because the work they do is so great, because they're not just, into only they help the wounded people, of course, but everybody coming back. And there's many more who aren't wounded and who are trying to figure out, how do I access all these programs I'm supposed to be eligible for, and get the GI Bill and get into all these things and get even the disability. They help with people with the disability claims and all the rest of that. So again, you know what to do, and we're going to, let me repeat the texting thing. I thought that was kind of cool. I may put that on speed dial. It's good. So text PURPLE, PURPLE, the word purple, to 20222, 20222 from your cell phone, and you can give them $10 just like that. I mean, as long as the internet's free, and open, and not a utility. Good grief. Or go to the website, purpleheartfoundation.org, Purple Heart Foundation, all one word, purpleheartfoundation.org, and help out. Okay? 877-84. Okay? 877-84. Okay?